All right, welcome back to the Old Grappler. Today, my guest is Kevin. I'll let you introduce yourself, name, rank, where you train, and we'll go from there.
Okay, my name is Kevin Richardson. I train out of Solidarity Jiu Jitsu. I'm a purple belt under Kyle Terra. Been grappling for about 13 years. I started when I got out of the Marine Corp. I trained under Frank Shamrock and bounced around. I've trained with Tanner Gracie. I've trained under Kung Lee. I've trained a little bit with the Militich camp. And then I think on my third pro MMA fight, I got my nose shattered and just tired of dealing with when you're starting out, like last minute opponent changes and them not telling me but telling that guy a month in advance, and I don't find out till weigh-ins, and then I got my nose shattered and I got like $400 to
Yeah.
show, $400 to win, but then my hospital bill was like thousands.
Yeah.
And so I got reconstructive nose surgery, and I was like, I'm done with the sport. I walked away for about 10 years, and then in 2018 just dealing with a lot of life situations, and just was like, I need to find another a positive outlet. And I came back to gi jiu-jitsu, which is like something I hated when I did no gi.
Uh-huh.
So I trained luta libre, and I remember going with a buddy to train at house, and somebody caught me in a bow and arrow, and I'm like, dude, what the fuck is this shit? You know? Like, you
Right.
can't do that in MMA, you know. So I always saw gi jiu-jitsu as like chess, and no gi as kind of like checkers.
Mm-hmm.
And you could be a really good checkers player, but it doesn't mean you're that great at chess. So I really wanted to understand the lapel game, and I came back, and actually I ran into a guy at a Hawaiian barbecue with like blown out ears, and I'm like, hey, do you fight MMA? And he's like, I train jujitsu, and I was like, man, if a gym opens up in my city, I'll do it, because I didn't really want to drive, just having kids and dealing with being a parent and stuff like that. So it was actually a Gracie Baja that opened up, so I started training there. And I wish I came back as like my belt rank, but I just started over because I just took so long off. I was just like, I'm gonna start over and go. But within like 3 months, I started competing again after training. I remember I beat this guy. He's like 6'9", 500 pounds, and I felt like on top of the world. And then I got lapel choked by a guy on the final round, like it was my first day. And so I was like, I really need to learn this lapel game.
Yeah.
And then from there, I went to Coyotes after COVID ended.
Mm-hmm.
I went to Coyotes and was there about 3.5 years. And then I came here to Solidarity in February.
Oh, okay. Nice. Nice little journey so far.
Yeah, you know, and it's funny how it's like people always say like enjoy the journey. And I remember when I came back, I was like, you know, I'm gonna get my black belt by this year, you know, like, and then it's like I sat at blue belt for like 4 years, and so it's like I kind of let go of that, wanting to be belted, and just really just understanding jujitsu and enjoying the journey of jujitsu and competition and stuff like that. I feel like it's a true test to see like where you're at by competing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, like, with the MMA and the now you having that transition with gi, do you still like training no gi?
Yeah, I just this year I wanted to get my purple belt in gi before I came back to no gi, and so this year I stepped back into competing in no gi, and I've already faced like I you know, black belts, brown belts, like not anyone at my belt level, guys who have like 20 years training, been doing no gi their whole time, and it's like it is a challenge because there's, you know, with the lapel game, I feel like that's like the cheat code, because at any moment you can get choked in gi.
For sure.
But in no gi, you know, it's not like your neck's under the threat the whole time. So it's a bit of a challenge doing both now. But I do enjoy the challenge of no gi because I feel like it's a little bit more explosive. You know, it's harder to hold on to guys if they're younger. You know, I've gone against the adults that, you know, 25-year-olds. They're like same age as my kids. You know, it's like, I'm going against I just turned 44 and competed at the UFC Apex. You know, against guys younger than me.
That was cool too.
Yeah, it's fun because coming back to jiu-jitsu, really my main goal was to win a world title in gi, and I won the open class at World Masters, and then my kind of dream was to compete at UFC Apex, and both those happened within 1 month, this year. So it was kind of nice
That's sweet.
to reach those goals as a turning 44, and being able to still do that.
So there's this persona that you have, this Krazy Kevin guy that comes out. Like when you walk out, I seen when you competed down in San Diego, you had the straight jacket and the mask. How did that come about?
Well, my upbringing. My mom's nickname's Krazy Carol. My sister's Scary Carrie. My brother's Evil Eddie. It's like we kind of come from a family of psychos. And then when I did I'm a veteran, so I went to the VA to do this cognitive study, and all my markers came back as like the same as like a serial killer. So I've always been drawn to like Hannibal Lecter and some of these like villains that are kind of like heroes in a way. They're kind of an anti-hero, and so with my persona of Krazy Kevin, I just figured tie it in, because also too in jiu-jitsu, or let's say in the real world, I feel like a lot of times I have to wear a mask and kind of like hide who I really am, or what I'm really feeling inside.
Right.
And in jiu-jitsu, it's like it's the happiest time of my life. So it's like the mask comes off when I step on the mats, and I get to be my authentic self on the mats, and not worry about anything else going on in the world. I mean, you talk about anybody, I've heard you talk about it before, where it's like when you're training, you don't have time to think about family issues or anything like that. And then I used to have a professor, Alex Costa, that at the end of class, when we're all sweaty, he'd lay us out and just talk to us a little bit, and we'd do some breathing and stretch. When you got up, your sweat marks would be on the floor, and he said, that's all your demons.
Okay.
That's all your issues there. You leave it on the mat. So it's when I wear that mask, it's kind of like that persona of I'm coming into this with my demons, and I'm going to leave them all on the mat when I compete. And plus, it looks cool. I feel like jiu-jitsu is some of these big matches, everybody's super serious, and everybody's comes out there and not really no flair to anything. And I feel like by doing that, it's putting on a show for the crowd. I mean, the whole crowd lit up, when they see that, and they think it's cool.
Right.
And I like that experience of
it is pretty damn
plus
cool.
WWF, in our age, like WWE, WWF, like all those characters that would come out. I feel like, and I've gotten a lot of matches because of doing stuff like that.
Yeah, it's cool to see. Like, I seen your results from World Masters, and then right away you're in San Diego doing that other deal, and then right away you're back in Vegas, at the Apex, and that was like a military branch versus branch, correct?
Yep, it was.
How'd that come about?
Actually, one of my good friends' wife used to work at Randy Couture's gym.
Okay.
And some of the people heading it up were from that gym, and she had found out about it, through following that gym, because I don't follow the gym. And so she hit them up saying, hey, this guy would be a perfect candidate for this matchup. So yeah, to apply, I applied and kind of told my story, because I'm a suicide survivor. 2014, tried to commit suicide, and dealing with PTSD and just a lot of issues from childhood and stuff like that. And in jiu-jitsu, it's like was my saving grace, finding jiu-jitsu again and coming back as more just the jiu-jitsu, not the striking form, because I don't feel like that helped with my just getting punched in the face all the time. Getting doesn't help with your PTSD, because the brain, I already have like a brain injury. So coming back to just jiu-jitsu and as a martial artist, not per se a fighter, it's really helped me heal. So I kind of just told my story, and I didn't hear from him for a little bit, and then they're like, hey, we sent you an email, and I didn't see it. It was like a month prior. So I was like, oh, let me go respond to this real quick, and I accepted the offer to be on the team, which that was like a dream, to be in the Apex and be where UFC fighters have warmed up and trained, and being able to do that. Yeah, it was definitely a dream come true.
That was sweet. I tried to watch it live. I didn't get a chance
Yeah, I
to,
don't
but
think they streamed it this time. This was it's going to be on Fight Pass, I believe, the next one,
okay,
and I'm probably coming back as more a super fight.
okay.
Yeah, because man, they had like the I think the Marines. We had the oldest guys on the thing. We had like the three guys over 40. You know, it's like
Really?
and some of the other teams had younger MMA fighter, pro fighters, and
Hmm.
more black belts. I think we had two black belts and two brown belts, and then myself.
Hmm.
But I'll fight anybody, man. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
I'll fight black belts. I don't care. I mean, no disrespect, but it's just on the mat. I like the challenge.
Right. Yeah. The chess game.
Yeah,
That's hella cool. You kind of hit on uh the suicide thing, and I know you're a big advocate for men's mental health.
yeah. Especially veterans. 44 plus veterans a day commit suicide, and so it's like over 16,000 a year. And you
Jeez.
don't really see anything, on the news about it or
Right.
anybody pushing it. So, well, after my suicide attempt, the veteran who actually saved my life, he had called me multiple times. I met him in a PTSD group,
Hmm.
and he's like, "Man, you're slurring your voice. Like, what's going on?" And I told him, like, "Dude, I'm checking out," and he rushed to me, got me to the hospital, and they had to pump my stomach, do all that. And I was in ICU for like 4 days because my heart wouldn't restart. And then, I tried to start helping vets. So I started helping vets, but I wasn't focusing on myself. I was focusing on helping other people. And then
Right.
ended up in the hospital again, but that time for like homicide, almost killing somebody.
Oh,
So I
jeez.
chased them down and like was gonna harm them, and then luckily it was like a movie, like a moving truck had moved out, backed out, and stopped me from getting to
Getting
them.
there.
Yeah, so it's kind of like I just called a friend, like, "Hey man, I need to check back in," and then still was having issues, and that's how jujitsu kind of came back into jujitsu. And
Hmm.
since I started jiu-jitsu, I'm on zero medication. It's
Hell
like
yeah.
it's my religion, it's my
It's your
therapy.
therapy.
It keeps me my moral compass.
Hmm.
I used to go out looking for fights all the time or doing stuff. Like now, it's like, dude, I'll freaking choke you out in like 2 seconds. It's not even
Right.
worth it, because you've seen it. You get these CrossFit guys or these super big guys. They come into jujitsu, and
Just
like
muscle
some
heads.
like 17-year-old kid, chokes them out. That's the same thing that happened to me when That's how I fell in love with jujitsu. Is thinking I'm some tough guy, and I show up and some little 17-year-old kid with cauliflower ear, gets on my back and chokes me out. I'm like, this shouldn't happen, And so
Yeah.
it's kind of like I fell in love with the challenge of jujitsu, and I do it every day. It's like you can't get me away from these mats.
Yeah.
My wife's learned to like be okay with it because like as soon as she gets home, like, hey, I'm going to jujitsu. So it's
Yeah.
like I we only see each other on like a little bit during the day and then on our days off. But it's like
Hmm.
this is what's keeping me straight.
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's crazy. That it's cool to hear that, like, the being consistent in and on the mat has helped you, like, wean off of the meds and what have you. That's big,
No, and
like.
there's a brief study that they did in Florida. It wasn't like an official thing. I think it was some lady who was going through school at the time, had worked with a gym and helping like talk or dealing with people with PTSD,
Hmm.
and they found like how much it improved their life doing jiu-jitsu. And so like my next step or goal, I still want to compete, but man, I'm like 76 matches now. It's like
Jesus.
my body's hurting, but I
Yeah.
got a couple more lined up here. I'm possibly Arte Suave in February, and I want to go for the no gi world title in December. But I want to get into bringing vets in, introducing them to jujitsu, because I feel like, I mean, it's kind of paramilitary. I've always looked for, even when I was younger, the way I was raised was rough, and I
Hmm.
joined gangs and stuff. Kind of, I was looking for like that Neverland, like that Lost Boys, that kind of like
Yeah.
group. And the Marines was that for me. But then after leaving, it's kind of like you don't have that. There's not really people that understand you. But then coming in jiu-jitsu, There's a little bit of dark humor with some of the guys.
Yes.
A lot of homosexual jokes. So it's like,
For sure.
it's kind of like paramilitary, and it's especially here, the clique that we got at Solidarity is such a solid group of people.
Right.
I remember when I first started training, it was like in 2000, 2004, 2005.
Hmm.
You couldn't keep a new student. It was like throwing a rock in a blender because everybody there was just like, oh, I'm gonna kill the new white belt because I've been getting killed for,
Right.
and it's just like the guy would just and be bounced. And
Right.
so now I feel like, um, we got a good group of guys here that are very welcoming.
Hmm.
It's not clicky. It's everybody. You got a stoner, a cop. A construction guy all on the same
Right.
mat.
Yeah.
Just we're just brothers and sisters on jujitsu on the mats. And yeah, I really enjoy here at Solidarity. It's really helped me with my jujitsu and just like having a second family.
Right. I, I I think that's one of the biggest things that I kind of fell in love with too with jiu-jitsu is the camaraderie, and e- everywhere I've gone, everybody's just welcoming, and I'm really like a loner type guy, right?
Yeah,
Like
me too. Yeah,
I don't need to go hang out with people. Like I do every once in a while, but like I don't drink anymore. I don't go to the bars. I don't, it's just like what I hang out at the gym, like 5 days a week, and at the house I'm either working or I'm at the gym or I'm home.
yeah. Same thing with me. I feel like if it wasn't for jujitsu, I'd never leave the house because it's like I got everything at my house that I got my
Yeah,
kids, my family,
cool.
a nice big screen TV. I got a little home gym. It's like I can stay at
Nice.
home all day and be happy. It's like when COVID first hit, my kids were complaining, Dad, I want to do this. And I was like, you ever slept in a hole, fighting hole for, for 8.5 months? Like this is like the Ritz Carlton,
Right.
like the high end hotel compared to what I've had to deal with
Hmm.
for being in the military. But it's yeah, jujitsu is like you said, it's my hangout spot. It's always fun to see too, like your teammates kind of grow in
The
jiu-jitsu,
progression.
and how we help each other,
Yes.
grow. And that's another thing I like about here. I feel like like when I first started jiu-jitsu back in 2004, 2005, there was no like, oh, I'm going to sit out around, or like I'm going to dodge this guy or
Hmm.
do that. And I've been at some gyms where it's like that's status quo. Like if the guy doesn't want to roll, he sits out, or oh, you're too big or you're too skilled for me. I don't want to go against you. And I really feel like your growth comes from being the nail in
Yes.
jiu-jitsu and learning how to, especially at a younger white belt, blue belt, working your way up. Survival is a big part of the game. Here, there's nothing. I've never had one person say like, "I'm not going to roll you,"
Yeah.
or "I'm not going to go against you." It's a lot of heart. A lot of guys that even white belts, they push me
Yeah.
to compete, or help me when I compete because they're just constant go go go
Right.
trying to get after me. And it's like that's how I feel like this group that we got here is just so great at
Hmm.
Solidarity. And to the coffee crew too,
Oh yeah.
it's a great well, I feel like when you roll with the same people every day, you kind of get you're gonna play these chess moves, and I'm gonna do
Yes.
this. You kind of learn each other's games. Like going to coffee crew, it's a great atmosphere, just like here at Solidarity,
Hmm.
or like mini gyms. But
Right.
it's you're getting guys that you've never rolled against, and
Yes.
it's like, and that's the closest to competition you're going to get without actually competing,
Yeah.
and I think it helps prepare people for that.
Yeah. Like at our gym, we're fairly new. We're still new if you think of in the big picture because we just finished 3 years. So, and I'm the senior belt other than the instructor, right? Our instructor is black belt out of One World, Craig Wallace. And from day one that it started, I, I'm I'm the one that's stayed consistent, right? And we have another one that was there at the beginning with me, and then she left for a little while, and now she's back. and she's a blue belt too. So other than that, everybody else is fairly new. We have another blue belt. I think he's probably like a year and a half in, maybe two. Um, and then a lot of guys that are like just over a year. Some are still like 8 months. But to see their progression, like I tell them, and it's kind of cliche, right? Like, hey, you're doing a good job. They don't. Sometimes they don't see it, and they don't believe that they're doing good. You roll with them. They don't submit you, or and they look at that as a bad thing, right? But they don't see all those little small wins that they are able to
No,
accomplish
definitely,
during that
especially
run.
like guys who it's like I'm trying to submit them and then I can't. It's like
Yeah.
even if like if we're on the point system,
Mm-hmm.
I would win. It's like, dude, you didn't get submitted. And I look at
Yeah.
that too. I faced black belts where I didn't get submitted.
Mm-hmm.
They may have beat me, but it's like I just faced this dude who's been he's a true striper, been training 22 years, and he didn't submit me. Then that's a win in my eyes.
Oh yeah.
And two, like when I first started, I remember asking guys like, "Hey, what was that you got me in?" And they'd be like, "Oh, it was like a secret." They didn't want to share it.
Right.
And I believe that if I show you how to get out of something, or I show you what not to do to get into it, it makes it harder for me to do it, which is going to improve my game and
Right.
improve your game. Because it's like if I just bang out submission after submission, the same one, and not help you as a teammate, it's like I'm
Yes.
not helping myself, especially when you're dealing with like a newer gym. Like this is a fairly new gym too,
Mm-hmm.
and it's you have to be able to build each other up,
Right.
because it's just going to make you stronger, and it's going to make them stronger and make the gym stronger as a
Yes.
whole.
I I I see that, and I see that in our gym. Like these guys, they're getting harder and harder to submit, and they don't realize it, right? Maybe I get them once, maybe a couple times, but sometimes I don't get them at all, and they're just like, "Ooh, I survived! Hell, shit! Now I have to do better, right?
Yeah,
That you survived, and like I'm trying to submit you. I'm trying to get position, right? Our coach is big on preaching position over submission. It keep the position. Don't lose the position. If the submission happens in the flow of things, then submit them. But at the end of it, you better have good position. And like I try to make sure I stay in good position when we're rolling. Doesn't always happen because they're progressing, right? Like,
mm-hmm.
but maybe when they first started, it was easy to keep them and keep position on them and get to a submission. But now everybody in the gym is like better and better, and like I try to tell them that. And sometimes, some days, I see them look at me like you're full of shit, but it's true. Like there's days where you're just on fire and you're able to do a whole lot of stuff, and then there's days like you ain't able to do crap because they're getting better,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And so a lot of times too, I used to train military, advanced infantry, and then I got out contracting to the government. And in any martial arts, it's like when you're learning, it's a very elementary mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of guys, they're not willing to be the full, which I think like, you get a lot of, I don't know, I forget what the percentage is, but a lot of people quit before blue belt, and then right
Right.
after blue belt, they quit. And then
Right.
when you're getting into brown and black, it's like ends up like only 1%, right? Make it
Right.
to black belt. And a lot of guys, they're not willing to be the full. And still, it's like, still this day, I'm the full. There's
Mm-hmm.
days you get caught, or days you're like, man, like, so you see something new, and it's all about the experiences we go through in rolling, or I feel like more growth. Lessons are one thing, but it's like you're or drilling or whatever, but you're going against static.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That's not sometimes two people, like I've heard professors and coaches saying, be a good ook, like
Mm-hmm.
put the pressure like it's supposed to be, so you
Right.
can actually do the technique.
Yes.
And but when you roll, it's like so much growth because it's like you're like, oh, I'm so good at an armbar or whatever, and then you go do it live, and it's like I can never hit an
Right. Yeah.
armbar, and then they start learning. But it's as they I think the process you go through, or the process you do go through when you're recognizing a threat, it's called the OODA loop. It's observation, orientation, decision, action.
Mm-hmm.
And if I took 100 people, the average would be about 0.25 seconds per step. So
Mm-hmm.
you ever heard somebody say like, "Oh, my life flashed before my
Yeah.
eyes,"
Yeah.
because your brain's trying to look for something in your mental Rolodex to like respond to that threat.
Okay.
And so in jujitsu, like the more specific training, live training you're doing, you're getting hit with all these scenarios. So it's like when you're brand new, you know nothing, and so it's easy. But these guys starting to get hit with all these different scenarios. I remember going home and I still do it to this day. It's like, man, if I get caught, I'm like, man, how did I end up there? You know, and how do I stop it from
Yeah.
coming? And I'm kind of like thinking about it, and it's because the body can't go where the mind's never been. So
Right.
these guys, like anybody who's new to jiu-jitsu, feels like they're not getting it or it's not clicking. Just keep training, just keep being consistent. It's gonna.
Yeah.
I still get those aha moments. You know, to the day it's like, oh, this
Yeah.
finally clicks for me, and it's like I fully understand or it's like one piece of the technique I wasn't seeing or wasn't doing, and then I finally grasped that one little
Mm-hmm.
aspect. But it's like, yeah, I think for anybody starting jiu-jitsu, it's just being consistent with the training.
Yeah.
You know, if you're only doing maybe 2 days a week, I mean, it's going to take you a while to get that. I mean, I would say at least 3 to 4 plus
Right.
days a week if you can to really grasp. And that's one thing about having a curriculum like Kyle Terra's curriculum. It's
Mm-hmm.
repeats. And I
Right.
remember in my younger days, I used to be like, man, like, why are we doing this over and over and over and over and over? It was like kind
Right.
of boring. But then it's like, you get it. Like, the reason why we do it over and over and over and over is because it becomes
Muscle memory.
into our like midbrain. So it's like our fight or flight. It's like
Mm-hmm.
people say like muscle memory or whatever, but there's times in matches where I'm like, how did I get to his back? You know, I have to ask my coach, and like, because I don't, it was just autopilot,
Yeah.
just going through it, which takes years of repetition
Right. To get
to
there.
get there.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. That's really cool. So what's on the agenda as far as matches, super fights?
I'm trying to get a rematch. That subversive match in San Diego. There wasn't supposed to be a get down rule, so my whole game plan was to wear him out a little bit on the feet,
Mm-hmm.
get the takedown, and do my thing.
Right.
And like a minute into the match, they confused it with like the commission was running it,
Okay.
so they had combat jujitsu throughout the thing. So the combat jujitsu had a get down rule because they want to start the
Yeah.
slapping, and so
Okay.
they made us get down. He's a 2-stripe black belt, been training a long time, but I feel like my game plan was good,
Right.
and then they put us down. And then the UFC event was supposed to be before that one,
Uh-huh.
and usually it's like I've been in matches where guys have had submissions on me, and I tell them break that fucking shit, you know, and I say something because I really, you're not going to stop me from coming at you, but I didn't want to get injured on this match and prevent me from doing the UFC match. So
Yeah.
he ended up catching me. It was kind of like a neck crank. I could have probably forced my way out of it, but I was just like, I'm not gonna injure my neck. I've already had my shoulder and elbow are already messed up. I actually did some BP 157
Uh-huh.
before my UFC event because I couldn't even lift my arm. It was pretty bad.
Really?
Yeah, so I did BP 157 like the week of,
Mhm.
and then it was good to compete on. But it's like, man, I always compete injured. What really stepped up my, because I used to only compete like 2 or 3 times a year just to kind of see where I was at
Yeah.
my belt level. But in 2022, I was having hip issues. I couldn't even walk. It felt like my crotch was on fire. And
Oh, damn.
they did an MRI, and I had bone on bone. So my bone was rubbing against my femur, like the little knot that goes in
Yeah.
your hip.
Yeah.
It's like oval from all my jumps in the military, fast roping,
Uh-huh.
and it's like a ratchet. It had like
Bunch
the
of notches.
notches in it, and so it just was rubbing on I couldn't walk for like 2 months, And Coach Vitor over at Kyle's, I almost gave up. Like I was just like, the pain's not worth whatever. And Coach
Right.
Vitor over at Kyle's was calling me, checking in, and it's like it's rare that you have a coach that does that. I feel like some gyms you're just a dollar sign, to the gym, but like when you have a coach that generally cares about you as an individual and your growth in jiu-jitsu, it builds like a bond,
Yeah.
and you want to be committed to that bond. And so I rehabbed it myself because the VA was only seeing me like they were supposed to see me like every day, and then they could only see me like once a week. So I started rehabbing it on my own, and then I was like, I don't know how long I got before they said I need a hip replacement. And so I was like, I'm gonna compete until my leg falls off. And so mobility work, it made me step up a lot of my game because I feel like if you're competing and you want to be at a high level or you want to actually win, you got to put in the work not only on the mat but off the mat. So like weightlifting, strength training, mobility training. And since they told me that, I think I'm at 64, 65 matches since they told me that I need a hip replacement.
Holy shit.
Yeah, so it's like all my matches I've competed injured, but on the plate coming up, hopefully I get that rematch. Right after I told the guy, hey, we need to run this up. The promotion apologized, so we need to run it back, and the guy didn't want to. He's like, no, I don't. I'm cutting weight. I don't want to go against you again. And so I've been on social media, kind of poking at it. Give me the rematch.
He's cutting weight.
He just wants to get down to like 190 or something like that.
Okay.
But it's only a month away. Like we just did the other ones. Like I'm willing to cut if he wants me to cut some weight to get down to a certain weight to compete again. Like I'm down. I'm normally a super heavyweight, but I just started doing ultra because I got from competing every month. I was like, dude, I'm killing myself cutting weight every month. And two, I feel like if your jiu-jitsu's good, it doesn't matter what weight. I get beat by little guys all the time, on training or whatever. It's like if your jiu-jitsu is good, it doesn't matter which weight. I feel like everybody's scared of the ultra heavyweight bracket. Or anybody I know that is ultra, they're always telling me how they're cutting weight to try to get to super. But it's just, man, it was just too much to get to 218 to compete with a gi. It's just like hard on the body. I was going down to drinking like 1 glass of raw milk a day. Like to try to like make weight, and just like it took the fun out of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
And going to ultra, I've had a lot of success at it. It's just, man, you deal with like, I feel like ultra is more like it's a judo game, and then somebody trying to lay on you for the time. It's just like putting that pressure.
That's kind of what happened to me in my last tournament. Like I'm ultra too, but I went down a couple age groups. And this guy was big, like tall, and when he did get on top, it felt like a fucking brick house on top of me.
Yeah, and they don't want to get off; they just want to lay there. Yeah, and I feel like that's, I feel like super is a little bit more. I wouldn't say athletic, but it's more movement. Guys actually trying to get you. I feel like ultra, it's like if you go against a real big guy like that, they just want to get you down and lay on you. And put pressure on you, and then sometimes it's hard to wiggle out.
Like I did a tournament at Independence High School here in San Jose at the BJJ tour, and it was the first time I got to fight people my own age, my own weight, right? Like age group and weight matchup, and I submitted the first guy, and then the second guy, I ended up on top, and then I was just positioned. I remember telling my teammate, I'm like, why couldn't I submit him, right? And then I look back at the film, I was just racking up points. I was mount, side control, back to mount, back to knee on belly. Like I was just finding the positions. I never really even attempted to submit him. I just kept position.
And that's good. I mean, when I trained under Henry Gracie and his family, Horion, Hiron, and they teach safety first, then position, then transition and submission. And it's like safety meaning like if somebody has you in a choke, like I'm gonna do whatever I can to get out of it,
Right.
even if it means losing position to
Mhm.
get safe again.
Right.
You know, but my same thing, my same as you, my strategy when I'm going against, especially like a power lifter that has like no neck and short arms and they're stocky, is like I'm just trying to get position.
Yeah.
If a submission presents itself, it's gonna
Yeah.
come, but it's better just to work on trying to get the position.
Right.
I feel like I have this conversation. I feel like super should be up to like 240, and then ultra should be 240 plus because I feel like it's such a big
I'd be able
gap.
to make super if it was
Well,
240.
you look at like every other weight class, it goes up 10 pounds, and then they're I know understand their logic behind it is like, well, we won't get as many people, but I feel like you get more because I feel like a lot of guys that are around like I walk around 240, 245, but I used to be at 230, but I try to bulk up
Right.
to be bigger for ultra. I feel like guys that are in that in between,
Hmm.
you know, or even like they're around 230 or whatever, like I feel like more people would compete if it went up to 240 and
Yeah.
then 241 up. Because now you're only talking about, you know, especially if you're 221 to 240, or, you know, you're talking about 10, 20 pound difference versus like when I went against that 500-pound guy, I shot in and he sprawled and it felt like a freaking building fell on me. I just remember my face hitting the mat, and then I was able to wiggle out and regard, and I ended up getting him in a Camaro. But I mean, it was like my back hurt for like 2 weeks after that, after having his big ass drop on me.
Dude, where was this
It was a BJJ tour in
500 pounds?
UC Davis, I think.
Okay.
So it was a pre-COVID, you know, so it was like a ton of people there. And I remember seeing like this chubby guy, and I'm thinking like, oh, this is my opponent. Okay, no worries. They're like, no, that's not your opponent. And I swear they brought homie out by his belt. Like he ducked under the door, and I'm 6'5", and the dude came under the door. And I was like, my buddy was like, your face turned white, you know. And then I like they started getting in the game mode, and I was like, bro, this dude's giant. Like he was
You said he
freaking
was 6'9"?
6'9". He ended up getting bronze, and he was bigger than me and the other guy on the podium. Like he was, he was so bigger than both of us. Super nice guy, but just like ginormous. I remember I committed him, and he just like reached over and grabbed my arm like I was a little kid, just all the way around my arm. So I was like on my side. I couldn't. He wouldn't let me finish the Camaro. So I was like, I'm gonna have to hip bump sweep this guy. And I tried, and he just like walked around me to side control, and I just turned my hips and cranked his arm all the way to his head. And he's like screaming, and the ref's like looking at me like, you fucking asshole. And I'm like, dude, I'm not letting go until you tell me to let go. This guy's freaking ginormous.
Yeah.
It's like my whole body was on his arm. His wrist was like grabbing this bottle. It was just like,
Holy shit.
he was freaking giant.
That's crazy.
It was the biggest guy I've ever gone against.
You,
And it was that white belt, yeah.
holy cow. At least he's doing something, right?
Yeah.
So it's like you see that video with Mason Fuller.
Yeah, against that big guy, yeah.
Holy shit.
I like all the memes that come from that.
Yes, yeah. They're hilarious.
Yeah, Mason's a different. I mean, that guy's a whole nother level. I rolled with him, you know. I mean, like I know he's going easy on me, but he's like freaking 10 steps ahead. You make one move, he's just his skill level is just
Crazy.
crazy, you know. And he knows what you're gonna do before you even know you're gonna do.
So I went to a seminar in Madeira, and it was hit for him his seminar, and I had barely fucking put my toes in the water in jiu-jitsu, and it was a no-gi seminar, and at that time I was like heavily like anti-gi. I'm just a no-gi guy. I'd be the one at the open mats, everybody's got a gi except for me, right?
Yeah.
And at the end there had to have been like maybe 20, 25, maybe 30 people. And at the end, he said, anybody that wants to roll, line up. Dude, like, there was a line. I was I was too beginner in my mind to even line up. I was just watching, and I rolled with other guys that were white belts. But he went through the line. He didn't take a break, and it was one right after the other, like 5 minute round, 5 minute round, 5 minute round, 5 minute round.
No, he's definitely a beast. I remember he
Dude,
posted that video about
holy shit.
not tapping under pressure. He's like, don't tap under pressure. And then we had just finished a nogi class at Kaio's, and he's like, hey Kevin, come here, and like that we roll, and he got top position and just put that pressure on me. But he just posted that video. I was like, bro, I'm not tapping under pressure. And that's like, just remember, like, it was like one of my old professors would say, jiu-jitsu is needed when you're in the dark, when you're like drowning and you're breathing through a straw. It's like that's where like jiu-jitsu matters. And I just remember like I was literally breathing through a straw trying to just survive the clock. You know, he probably could have submitted me, but he was trying to put that pressure.
That's great.
And I was just like, man, I'm not trying to tap under this pressure. But it was like I was like breathing.
I mean, those are worst. That's the worst feeling.
That's how I try to get people.
Yeah. Oh, me too. Like I'm definitely.
I try to mother's milk. One of my tournaments, the ref laughed because I think it was IBJJF San Jose Open, just like maybe whatever last one they did.
Mm-hmm.
I went down to I think Masters 2, and my mother's milk guy, and Kirby's always like, stop doing it, you know, it's like not gonna work. It's not gonna work with the higher belts, you know. And I remember I got up and I was going, mother's milk, like that, and then the ref started cracking up.
That's cool.
If you do the north south, it's called father's milk.
Yeah, I call that one goat milk.
I had a video of one of my teammates. He did that Gilroy. They did like a white and blue belt.
Yeah, the
Gilroy BJJ. Yeah, thing. And he had a guy north south, and you just see this dude's face like just swiping across his you know. And I was gonna post the video, but I know the other guy too, so I was like, I'm not gonna post the video, because the other guy, somebody had set up a robbery. I was selling my house in the heat of COVID, and this guy was like, the police came the day before, and they're like, hey, are you squatting here? And I was like, I live here. And of course, I'm tattooed up, so they're like, hand on their gun, like, show me your ID and all this. And I go, no, it's my house, dude. I fucking live here. So I ended up showing them ID and stuff, and they're like, oh, your cars match, you know, the house. And I go, no shit, I fucking live here. You know? So the next day, I'm at a storage unit, and my wife's like, somebody's trying to break into the house. And so this dude's pounding on my door, and I'm on my ring, like, hey, dude, are you on meth? Like, what's your fucking problem? He's like, you robbed me. I say, what are you talking about? I robbed you. And so I show up, and I almost attack this guy. And he's like, he could see, like, how serious I was. He's like, no, somebody robbed me. And I guess the guy set up a robbery at my house thinking no one was there. Threw online, robbed this dude for some computer, hit the fence, and ran off. But he was in my backyard for whatever amount of time while my wife was in there. It's like, I don't want him coming back to my house. So the police were like, we've been trying to catch this guy for 2 years for like 17 robberies. So I was like, I hit the street. Hey, you seen a guy running down the street and stuff like that? And then some kid ended up knowing him. And so we ended up tracking him down. And the guy kind of bladed a stance on me. And I just freaking popped him in his ear, foot swept him, took his back. So that guy's like, where'd you learn that from? And I go, jiu-jitsu. And so he's been training there. He's a blue belt now. He comes to cockpit crew and stuff like that. I faced one of my teammates, and they were in north-south. So I'm like, I'm not gonna post the video
of the schlong.
That's like the worst. I tell people jiu-jitsu. I just heard somebody talk about like a guy out of a SAC that trains. He had a grade. He was like, I'm gay enough like to where I've had multiple balls in my face, but I'm not gay enough to actually suck a dick. So it's like, and I always joke around too, like when we do certain things in jiu-jitsu, I'm like, man, if this was my first day, I'd probably never come back. You know, it's like we're doing back take in the gi, and like you pull the lapel in, you're on their ass. You know, and I had some white belt asking me questions on like how to fish, and I'm like, dude, I'm not gonna look back at you and tell you that.
You're not gonna reach around.
Get off my ass first, and then I'll give you another white belt. I'll demo on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I joke around all the time. I'm gonna come out with a instructional 50 ways to take a man's back in prison.
Dude, that's funny. The it's funny. We have a guy in our team. He's a white. He's like I think 8 months in, and maybe the last month, 2 months, he's picked up the it's okay to talk shit on the mat to each other.
Yeah.
Oh, this and now he's sending me memes. He sent me some gay fucking meme the other night. I'm like, this motherfucker. Like, I'm like,
you should see
and
me.
then I see him at the gym, and he's like,
I like the super fights because I did JJF. You can't really talk on the mat. You can get in trouble. But these super fights at the UFC one, the team's like, you got long legs, and I'm like, it's not the only thing that's long. And the whole crowd laughing. Or the guy tried to break my guard with his knee in my ass, like standing up with the knee in my ass. And I go, I love that shit. Go deeper. And he's like, what the fuck? I do it here though all the time too. I'm constantly like, Kirby's always pointing out like the etiquette. Like, so he's like, we're gonna be like monks here, and no one say anything. I said, man, we'll still pass messages subliminally, you know.
Right.
But it's like that's the fun about jiu-jitsu is it's just like you can really, you can joke about that kind of stuff, and no one really takes offense to it because at the end of the day, it is kind of homosexual. The Netflix and chill position.
I tell the guys, it's only gay if you look me in the eyes.
Well, I tell them if the clock's running, it's not gay. If there's a clock on, it's not gay. If the timer's not on, you know, like when they do specifics, they'll be like, you know, there'll be like a little pause, like, but you'll be in the position and like they have to go turn the timer on. I was like, that's gay, man. We gotta wait till the timer's turned on. Yeah. I was reading this old samurai book. I got in this whole like my ADHD freaking rabbit hole of like studying stuff, and I studied all this samurai books, literature, and stuff like that. And I'm reading this one book, and it's like talking about like if the samurai were on a boat and they're like crossing a river and they get head by another dude, it's not gay. I'm like, what the fuck? So I was like, I'm done with my samurai studying. But you know, like all the Greeks, all the like I don't know about the Spartans, but the Greeks and all that, it was part of the culture. It's definitely part of the culture in jiu-jitsu. I mean, the B team came out with that shirt, "Keep Jiu-Jitsu Gay." Yeah. You know, it's just funny, but actually, probably the most manliest dudes out here will say some gay stuff, and I'm cool with it.
Yeah, that's hilarious. It's just I never really thought of it like that, you know. And now that I'm participating in jiu-jitsu and learning, like, oh fuck, it's not real. I get it, but I'm okay. I'm not gay, but I roll around with dudes.
That's like I'm do for fun. I feel like gi is less gay. We got more coverage on. You know?
Yeah. We're clothed a little bit more. Yeah. Shit.
No gi in my match, like I stripped down to silkies, which are like it's like a 3-inch inseam, you know, like on the short. Somebody's like, "How'd you keep your dick from falling out?" I said, "I wore compression pants." That'd even be more weird.
Just a little.
Yeah, especially you know, there's that in the gi. There's that one like you're in half guard and you bump it forward and you feed like the lapel or the belt to your hand and then come up into like a single leg. I always ask like, how do you do that in no gi?
What are you grabbing to feed?
See, that I took this podcast into something good.
It's all good. All good.
Yeah, so one of the Marines that I competed with, he's like, "Man, you got no filter." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's just who I am. I'd rather be authentic than hide who I am." And
I think that's the one thing that I like. I met you at Coffee Crew, right? And the craziest shit I've ever heard you say. We were here at Solidarity on Easter Sunday, right? And we were lining up for the picture. And you're like, I want to be like that dude, get stoned and nailed. you just say that? Like, yep. And you're like, it's that time. All right. After that, I'm like, fuck. I start following you on social media, and then your social media is hilarious.
Yeah,
And
my
you,
wife's always like, people only laugh at your jokes because they're scared. I'm
oh,
like, no.
no, or they're homosexual.
Yeah.
uh, so I seen something on your social media that you're doing. You've been posting about it lately with the veterans
Yeah.
and well, I'm sorry, I don't remember
It's
what
called Weed for Warriors.
that.
So,
Yes.
when I had my suicide attempt, the veteran who saved my life, so the VA got me hooked on pain meds because I had all these injuries and I was showing up saying like, hey, my back's hurting really bad. I can't walk. And, and they were like, here, just stop coming to us. We're just going to start sending you pain meds. So it started out like some Flexerol and a Vicodin. And I was like, I had the best sleep ever since post-military. And so then it went from taking one a day to two a day to I was up to like 14 a day.
Holy shit.
And I think when my suicide attempt, I took like over 100 Percocets, Norco, like whatever I had, and drank. I think I still have the high score at the VA. I blew a 400 on the breathalyzer, and so
Damn, what'd you drink?
everything, everything, everything. A spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. It's like I drank everything. I was just at a bad time, and my just
Yeah.
my marriage is failing. I was not feeling like a piss poor father, and that's one thing jujitsu is. My older two kind of grew up more with my really crazy days, PTSD, and like jujitsu has brought us closer. Kind of repaired my relationship with my dad before he died. But so this vet that saved my life, he was like, "I want you to try cannabis," and so he gave me like a 180 milligram cookie and like a 100 milligram capsule, and I'm like looking at the small cookie, not really understanding like
The dosage.
the dosages. I was like, man, I took 14 painkillers. Like, what's this cookie and caps? I took them both. So it was like, almost, I felt like I was going to die that day. But I kind of researched a little bit, learned about CBD, and kind of came back into like doing high CBD, low THC, and then getting into doing just cannabis. And then we were hanging out, kind of like what jujitsu does for me now. I was hanging out with a bunch of other vets who were into cannabis, and so I was like, why isn't there a group like this where vets can come hang out and get some free medicine or something like that, and something natural? Because the VA is like, I can go to the VA and get like, at one point I was on like 17 different prescriptions. It's like I was like, forgot how to eat a bowl of cereal. Like that's how bad I was. I was just like a zombie. I tell people it was like the feeling of that movie Get Out, where she would stir the cup and he was kind of like looking through his eyes, but he wasn't in control.
Right.
And that's not how I wanted to live. So I got more on natural. Still, I do like sea moss and shilajit, natural plant-based medicine.
Right.
But so I started this group and it blew up like within the first year, and I couldn't do it on my own. So I met a couple people that are kind of advocates in the area, and we became like one unit. And it started at one point we're in like England, Australia. We had like branches of our brand over there. We're helping vets, and we've given out probably. I want to say. I know it's over 20, 30 million in free cannabis to veterans, but we do drops at dispensaries for vets. We used to run like hangout groups, but then it became legal here in California. It was always legal, but Prop 215 was a little bit more freedom. With under Prop 64, we would have had to pay the taxes on everything that we give out, which we can't afford. So we fought for this law called SB 34, which allows a company has 1 year to sell their product. And so they have to pay taxes on it if they don't. So what it allows in the state is if they donate it to a medical patient, they don't have to pay the tax, even though they kind of lose out on the growing of it. But this market in California sucks. So we get a lot of donations from companies. And we run these drops for vets, and really, these drops, we want the veterans to go there and meet other vets and find, even if you're a salty person who hates everybody. It's like you're gonna meet another salty person
Right.
that hates everybody. So you guys can be salty together. But yeah, these vets come together out of groups, and we give out free meds. We got a couple coming this month. One in Santa Rosa, one in Sacramento, and then we got some SoCal ones coming up too this month. But yeah, it's a good thing for the vets. They really enjoy it. But for me, it's like I want veterans to see like cannabis alone is not going to cure everything. Like hopefully I can get more vets, that kind of same concept, but for jiu-jitsu, I want to start helping vets get into jiu-jitsu. And too, I still like any of my matches, I medicate before my matches. It helps me kind of calm down and
Yeah.
stretch and relax.
Right.
Yeah, I used to do like 100 and something milligrams before a tournament.
Holy.
I've even tried shrooms before a tournament, but never again. That was like,
That wasn't.
I think I did too much. I remember I'm sitting there, it was like a jiu-jitsu world league. And I'm sitting there like, man, all these guys are like super warming up. Like, what kind of tournament did I sign up for? They were going all gung ho, and then I saw them all put on white belts, and I was like, oh, that's why they haven't learned yet, you know. Like, yeah, and so I ended up doing the tournament, and I knew like just the little movements the guy was doing, like I was able to like feel it coming, and like was like steps ahead of him. I don't know if it was because of the shrooms, but I didn't have any competitive drive. I don't know if that helped me at all. Like, but it was just definitely a weird experience where I was like, oh, I'm not going to do that again.
And when you when you say you medicate, we're talking THC, right?
Yeah, THC.
So your cannabis. How does that make you feel like when you're one?
At first, you get a little bit of that, you know, anxiety of the cannabis. Anybody smokes, you know, it's like you get like a little bit anxiety feeling, especially because you're about to compete, which there's already like anxiety. But then I usually do it like my match is like a couple hours away. I'll do it like 2 hours out, and then so by the time, even when I train normally, I've been off cannabis now for like a month or two, just trying to. I'm going through like some ketamine therapy through the VA to try to help with my PTSD. And so I've been off for the last couple of months, but like before practice, I would do it and like go through the lesson. And by the time we got to the rolling, I was kind of like on the more chill part of the cannabis, where it's like just relaxed. I just feel relaxed and kind of like not as like gung ho, or just kind of like let them work. Henry Gracie said he would ask when I did the combatives instructor course under him, and he was like, "What's the key word in jiu-jitsu?" And everybody's like, base or position or submission. He's like, "No, it's chill." And so it's like cannabis helps me chill.
Got you.
Where it's like you get those spazzy guys that are going crazy, and you're just kind of like just chilling, just letting them work. Because you got to imagine, like, if their life bars here, let's say they're cardio kings and mine's down here, it's like if I'm working the same level, I'm going to wear out first. But if I can get my opponent to work and I'm just chilling because I'm safe or I'm in a good position, I felt it in tournaments where I've been on somebody and they're moving around and I'm in mount and I just put the squeeze on them and they end up tapping because they wear themselves out, and they can't go anymore. But yeah, it just helps me chill.
I've tried like edibles too, like before practices, just to see. Like I think like my kids smoke weed, but I was like, I'm not a big guy into like smoking, and I was really looking at CBD for all the bang bruises and like aches and pains. And I tried like a CBD THC combo, some edible, and I was like, oh, like I felt like a little bit of a high, but like my body was just relaxed.
Yeah, and that's key because especially as we get older, it's I feel like more chance of getting injured, and when you feel like relaxed like that, it's better. It's like one time I was in high school and we flew off the 880 onto the 280 in a high speed chase, and they said the only reason why we lived is because we were drunk.
Yeah.
because we're limber,
Right.
And so I feel like THC does that. It's funny they made me go to AA, and I'm like 16, and they made me go up and speak, and I'm like, my name is Kevin Richardson. Alcohol saved my life.
it it is crazy though, right? Like
Yeah.
you said, you were in an accident. I I was driving from. I live in Los Banos, Florida, so I was driving to Turlock, and it's just like a 2 lane little highway, right? And we're almost to Turlock, and there's a fucking car folded around a telephone pole, and you literally see the dude's hand hanging out of the bottom of the car, right? And I'm like, fuck, like telling my kids, hey, don't look over there, me thinking it's a dead guy, right? And then like 2 or 3 weeks later, I'm at work, and how it got brought up, I don't even remember. But we started talking, and I started talking about seeing that accident. And the dude's like, "Yeah, I know that dude. Yeah, he fucking walked away. He was so drunk."
Yeah, you remember. So I
I
feel
was
like
like,
cannabis helps you
"Holy
with that as far
fuck."
as like competing and stuff like that. It helps me stay kind of loose,
Hmm.
and there's a fine line between overdoing it and
Yeah,
and just getting the right amount. I used to do like a lot more concentrates, which is a little bit higher, but now I vape the THC because it doesn't hit you as hard as doing like concentrate. But the thing about like an edible is when you inhale cannabis, you're only like, let's say it says it's 90% THC. When you inhale it, you're only inhaling half of it,
hmm.
and so it's like 50% off. So but when you eat it,
Hmm. You
it
get
goes
the full.
100%
Yeah.
of it. So I've had times where it's like everybody says it, like when you say like, oh, this edible ain't shit, and then it kicks in and it's like, fuck, I'm gonna die right now.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't like that feeling. But yeah, definitely I do like hit the vape a couple times before, and then and two, it's hard. Like I don't want to rip out like a bong if like my
In
kids
front of
like, what are you
everybody.
doing? Or
Yeah.
it's like with a vape, it's very discreet. I can do it off to the side somewhere and no one
Yeah.
really sees. It doesn't really have a smell.
Right.
I used to have this little. It's called a Puffco. Kind of looks like a butt plug. And so I was like, I was driving with it in my car. I'm like, dude, if I get pulled over, I'm gonna have to tell this cop it's a butt plug or something. Like, because it even has a button where it changes colors and it vibrates a little bit.
Oh,
So I just
jeez.
tell them smell it.
Yeah. So that would pull the
You put a
smell.
little concentrate in it. Concentrates don't have as much of a smell as like flour. Like when you smoke flour, it's a distinct smell, but concentrate's not so bad, but even vapes even less, and you can't even really smell it because it's encapsulated into the
Right.
cartridge. So it's and two that sometimes they put terpenes in it where it's tastes like strawberries or smells like
Right.
something else.
Like fruity or something.
Yeah, I like the fruity ones.
Yeah. Only when you come to jiu-jitsu, right?
My favorite combo, my favorite pair.
Fruity and jiu-jitsu, yay. Shit.
Yeah, actually, as soon as I get the gear, I'll do the post about it. But my Silkies got me a sponsor that makes Silkies.
Hell yeah.
And so as soon as they come out, I'll let everybody know. But yeah, I got a sponsor now for some gear. But it's like you're gonna see me a lot more in short shorts.
It's all right. As long as you have the compression so no schlong hangs out.
Somebody might like that. I joke around saying I'm gonna start a jiu-jitsu OnlyFans where I teach all the techniques nude.
Hey, you know what? You might have a big hit there.
And I'll just undercut, everybody else's online prices. I'll do like $10 a month.
Fuck.
I'm already thinking about doing the Matt Burn foot picks. I think those would sell too. Some people are in those too.
Yes.
I got one toe I broke. Like my second toe where it's like bends left now.
Uh-huh.
I'm like walking on a knuckle. I mean, somebody's out there into some nasty feet.
Yeah. It's crazy the fucking fetish people. They're like,
Yeah, I could.
the only thing that like I'm into titties. That's I ain't into feet. I ain't into just
I
fucking
think feet are so
show me
ugly.
some titties. I'll be all
I might start I said I'd call it CT adult.
right.
Teach the cricket. The only ones that might be weird are like triangle or back take. Might be a little bit weird, but
Well, dude, yeah. So, hey,
in
I'm
the
sure you'll find the right guy that'll be the ook for that.
in the middle of that UFC one against the Apex, my teammates going and some yelling out shit from the side, and I go twist his dick. Like the
Oh,
guy from the
fuck.
thing, yeah, whole crowd started laughing. Whole crowd started laughing. So the guys who ran it, they were like, "Yeah, you were definitely funny. I don't think we're ready to give you the announcer mic yet." I might scare. So I thought I scared them away, but they brought me. They're gonna bring me back as possibly a super fight next time.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Going against those young bucks gets wearing on you.
Yeah, yeah. I hear you on that.
Especially the guy kept on trying to tie up with me hella hard, and the ref's like, no hitting, no hitting. So I fucking kicked him. It's like we're doing MMA now, I guess.
Yeah. So, uh, talk about let's talk about World Masters.
Yeah, World Masters, it was cool. Actually, my first opponent was somebody who I went against twice already.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I just had picked up purple. We had been a purple for a while. Athletic guy. The first match we had, the ref stopped it. He was bleeding. I had him in my choke, same choke I got him with at World Masters. They raise my hand. We walk away. I'm in bullpen, and they say, "Hey, you got to come back." They reset the match because because they argued. I didn't have a coach there. They argued that the match was stopped because he was bleeding, not because he tapped. And so they brought us back, and then we faced again each other in the open, which I jumped guard with a guillotine, and he was able to pop his head out, and he got 2 points. So he beat me on that 2 points.
Oh shit.
And so we're going into that was my first match, which he even said that he was hoping to face me later on in the match. Mm-hmm. And so I caught him in the same choke I caught him in twice before, but this time I was deep under his neck and I put him to sleep. He went to sleep. So it kind of set the tone. All the other ultras were like, "What the fuck? Like, what'd you get him with?" So I put him to sleep, and then one of the guys was like, "Hey, what was that choke?" And I go, "Don't worry, I'll show you." And and so I made it to the finals, and I went against this like 380-pound super Samoan, and he ended up beating me there. I got silver at ultra, but then I went back into the open class, and same thing. Submitted. I was trying to use where I fucked up is not really fucked up, but I was trying to test my Joker choke, and kind of like I've been building it since white belt, so I wanted to see if I can implement that whole Joker choke series I have in every opponent. And so even the ref, I have one video that's like over 500,000 views because the ref was like, he asked me, he's like, "That's the same choke?" And I go, "Yeah." And he's like, like gave me the little head nod. Yeah. And he was even smiling when I caught the like third guy with it.
Yeah.
And so I was trying to just test to see if I can, because I believe in like, I want to get into teaching, and as a competitor, it's like I want to implement my techniques to show like the people I'm teaching like it works,
Yeah.
So I started with this Joker choke series where it leads from the Joker choke into a triangle or into a omoplata or kind of a couple different chokes I have with it, like to spin off of it. And yeah, I implemented that whole series, and out of 6 matches, I had 5 finishes with my Joker choke series.
Nice.
Yeah, so it was cool. But yeah, in Ultra, man, you got some big guys. Again, I just want to lay on you.
Yeah. It was crazy because I remember you posting that video, the one that got the 500,000.
Yeah.
But shit, when you posted it, I think it was like at 170,000.
Yeah.
And now it's 500,000.
Yeah, it's almost to 600. Shit. Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah.
And like when you posted that, I was looking at like some of your other videos, and you know how you could see on the Instagram how
Yep.
many views you have on your reels. I was like, holy shit, like this fucking thing.
It blew up. Yeah, it went, and it's not. It's only like a 9 second cheesy little video. It's not even like
Yeah.
nothing special. It's like one of those ones where you watch it because I think it was at like 30 days of watch time. So it's like somebody's sitting there like waiting for something to happen. It just keeps probably cycling over and over.
Right, yeah, yeah. I'm like, what? I, I'm like, shit, I need a video that does. I, that's it's cool that it's out there and that it's getting the views that it's getting.
Yeah, and too, it gives me a bigger platform too to talk about like the veteran suicide epidemic and
Yeah,
jujitsu. Not only I wouldn't say not only for veteran suicide, it's just my heart's for the vets, but anybody dealing with trauma, sexual trauma, anything like that. It's like I feel like jujitsu um, is going to be a big help. Especially too. It's like when I first started jujitsu, 2004, 2005. There wasn't a lot of women
right.
in the sport, and then now to see like the growth
Hmm.
in women is awesome. It's
Yeah.
like to see like because jujitsu wasn't designed for like the big buff guy. Helio Gracie, when I feel like he's even though Carlos is kind of like the one who started it for the Gracie family.
Hmm.
Helio was like the front desk person, sickly, like you couldn't even walk up a flight of stairs without having to stop to take a breath. And
Hmm.
they one day a lawyer had come in and was supposed to get a private lesson from Carlos, but he wasn't there. And Helio taught the class,
Hmm.
and the Carlos came like apologizing. He said, "Oh, Helio taught it. I want him to teach me from now on." And he kind of developed, jiu-jitsu, working on body mechanics and weight displacement, stuff like
Right.
that, and training under Henry and seeing their museum that they have there, and them talking about the lineage of the
Hmm.
family was pretty cool. And it's like, jujitsu. A lot of people are like, "Oh, I want to get in shape for jujitsu." It's like, jujitsu will get you in shape. It's not the same. I've seen marathon runners come and gas out. In jujitsu, it's because they're not breathing right or they're not slowing their breathing down or just kind of chilling. It's like everybody thinks you gotta go, 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 go. But it's like once you start learning technique, it's less.
I I think the biggest thing that helped me with my jujitsu is learning how to breathe with jujitsu. Because at the beginning, holy shit, I'd gas
Yeah,
out.
people hold their breath. It's like, man, go
You don't
hold your breath and go
realize it.
punch a punching bag for 1 minute and see how gassed you are. It's like
Try
it's a
punching it for 20
one
seconds.
of my professors would always talk about. He'd actually your first stripe you got was when he recognized you were breathing, and he would be like, "Do you guys like slavery?" And everybody's like, what? Like what kind of question is that?"
Right.
And he's like, "Why do you enslave your breath?" It's like
Mm,
he would teach, and one thing I took with me is like if you learn a technique and it has 4 steps, take a breath each step.
mm,
One, it's going to help you think about the next step that you're going to do, but it's now you're building this repetition of learning how to breathe between steps. Just like in the Marines, when we run, we call cadence
mhm,
to slow our breathing down. So we're not, a left, right, a leo. I just took 10 steps, but I breathed out the whole time. Now I breathe in, and then next one, it's like learning how to slow
mm.
your breathing down and recognize that you're not breathing correctly. And that's a big part of jiu-jitsu. Even too, like people like, oh, you got to be. I'm not flexible enough. It's not really flexibility. It's learning how to turn on your side so you can move better.
Right.
Or the way you position your body to move better.
Yeah,
It's not
I could see that.
like I can't bring it to head because I'm not flexible either. But it's like bring
Yeah,
my leg behind my head. It's like no, it's just learning how to position your body to move correctly.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean that's the and like I used to hate competing because it exposes all the lies we tell ourselves. Like you could be training here and be like, "Oh, my guard's unpassable," and then you go do a tournament, and it's like you get past like
hmm,
nothing, and it's like exposes where you need to work on, which is now what I love about comps, especially
yeah,
like um, once I lose. If I lose, it's like I look at it as a win because now it gives me something to work on.
to focus on,
Yeah, to
right? Like
focus on,
focus
hey, I
on
need to
this
focus on this aspect of
discrepancy.
my game. A lot of people, they use weight, or they use injuries, or they use like, oh, I'm gonna wait until I'm a blue belt to compete, or that's like, just compete.
Yeah,
Like
because
getting out there and competing, it's only gonna make you better because you see what you have to do to win. And then too, it's like when remember my first year back in gi, or coming to gi, my first year competing, I got silver, 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 and then gold, and it
mm-hmm,
was like that. It made it so much sweeter to get
mm,
that gold after coming back from so many losses on like lapel chokes and stuff. Because again, coming from no gi slash MMA, there was a lot of holes in my game because where I would just strike you to get a submission, I can't
mm-hmm,
do that now.
right.
Or where I wouldn't have to worry about my neck as much. It's like somebody wraps you up with that lapel.
Oh, you better rip. Yeah, that I was I was like 2 months into jiu-jitsu when I did the first tournament. My coach didn't even know I signed up. I was like, "Hey, I signed up for a tournament." What the fuck did you do? Like,
I think
I
that's the
just
best way
want to see what like
where you're at.
and like I had the wrestling background, right? So I was able to keep position a lot better than your basic new guy, right? So I was like, well, fucking let's see how the wrestling transitions into this. I lost. I lost the very first match. It was no gi. Lost that, and then I made it to the finals in gi, and I didn't know how to score points. Like 2 months in, I didn't even read the rule set. I just wanted to compete. And you look at it. It had been 30 years since I had fucking competed, like wrestling wise, grappling wise, right? My last wrestling match was in high school, and then here we are, fucking fast forward 30 years. Hey, I'm gonna do this. Look, let's see where we're at.
And two, sometimes you surprise yourself like that. I've had times where I'm like, man, like, sometimes you can build monsters in your head when you're watching tape on people, or you're seeing like, oh, this dude freaking, beat a guy 10 times bigger than me and all
Mm-hmm.
this stuff, and then you show up and you win. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
man, but if I would have never took that chance,
Right.
I would have never seen that, um, how good I could do. And one thing I always have to remind myself is, even if I don't trust myself, I have to trust my training and my jujitsu
Yeah.
that I put in, and it hasn't failed me. And even if I lose, it's not like I lost, you know, on like getting submitted or anything. A lot of times it's points, or
Yeah.
and not even a lot of points, but a couple points, and I learn from those errors, and makes me stronger. Actually makes me more hungrier to learn.
Yes.
Honestly, the only time I really feel alive is like on the mat competing.
Mm.
It's like you just get this like, not I wouldn't say a rush anymore, but I get this like just like just like a full of life, like when you're competing.
Like a rush, the foam in
Yeah,
that rush. I know what you mean. I,
it's almost, I'm addicted to it. Like that kind of feeling of when you're on the mat, and like win or lose, it's like a release of something,
yes, I get that.
and all the voices in my head.
I don't have those. But yeah.
I always joke around because the World Masters, actually I sent 3 people to medical, and they were like, that one dude had like tore his ACL when I foot swept him, and he tried to hop on his other leg and it folded inward, and it was like 15-second match, but the medics were like, "You're making us work today. Stop sending." I'm like, "Hey, they signed the waiver."
Yeah, well, it's true. Shit, that's cool. That, that's cool. I appreciate that you are such an advocate for what you do. That is the reason I tried to sit with you.
No, and it's an honor too, man. I've watched a couple of your episodes, your podcasts, and so it's like, it's an honor. I think I got a couple more coming up. Lucky Shots is going to
Hmm.
start a podcast, and we're going to go in a little bit more in depth into like my childhood, and kind of like my story.
Mm-hmm.
Both my parents were meth heads,
Mm.
and kind of growing up in chaos and then the military and being deployed and coming back and getting into combat sports and jiu-jitsu and stuff like that. And then with Natty, one of my teammates,
Yeah.
we're going to do a podcast on like PTSD and how it's like, it could be kind of like a superpower, but I feel like once you learn how jujitsu helps your PTSD, then the PTSD kind of like that hyper focus or the for that fight or flight you get, like
Mm-hmm.
jujitsu has helped me control that.
Gotcha.
And so now it's kind of like it could be quote unquote a superpower, but it's without jujitsu, I wouldn't have had so much control. Even like the doctors, friends that I deal with are like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
you've changed so much, over the years. And it's like jujitsu is what really changed me and
Yeah.
kind of gave me that direction. So you get out of the military, you have no mission no more. And like jujitsu is my mission. And it's my physical fitness, it's my drive in life. It's like
Yeah.
my oldest son's a blue belt now. He's in the Marines.
Nice.
He's my younger son's really more, and he wants to. I think because the Jake Paul era, like he wants to box. So
Mm.
it's a combat sport. So
Yeah.
I always want my children to know how to defend themselves, and I want them to look at me setting that example and not going like out here looking for fights like I used to and
Right.
stuff like that. It's like I don't want to be in prison. That would take gay to a whole new level. That's when I'd be teaching the lock and turn method.
The clinch.
The clinch and turn. Yeah, deflect. That's gonna go on my instructional in the 50 ways on the second DVD on how to defend the 50 ways to take a man's bag.
Yeah. Shit. Deflect. Clinch. Deflect. CD. uh, Anything else you want to get out there?
Oh man, that's hey, if you're looking to compete, and you got all these excuses, look at me. I got injuries. I got all these, family. I always hear, oh, I just had a kid or had this, and it's like you've always had kids when I competed, or even the last 2 years, my wife went back to school, and that's another reason why I came to this gym to train closer to home, and I'm balancing being Mr. Mom at home plus doing training and lifting and doing all that, and it's just if I could put it out to anybody, that's in jiu-jitsu, it's like compete. It's only going to make you better. It's going to help you see what you need to do, especially if you're joining for like self-defense. It's like, how do you know your shit works?
Right.
If you're hanging with somebody who's evenly trained or better trained, yeah, when it comes to protect yourself, and even if you're joining for just hobbyist, it's good to see where you're at in your jiu-jitsu. I remember back in the day, even some gyms to this day won't promote you unless you do some kind of competition.
I haven't heard that one.
Yeah, there's gyms where it's like you have to at least compete, once to pick up blue belt.
Wow.
Or some gyms I've heard like you have to volunteer places and do this stuff because jiu-jitsu, it's like as a martial artist, you should carry yourself differently than the average person.
Right.
I believe it's your representative. It's like in the Marines, it's like somebody fucks up and does a crime or something like that. It puts a black eye on the Marine Corps because they're like first thing in the news. It's going to be like United States Marine did the same thing in jiu-jitsu. It's you should carry yourself a certain way. I believe.
Yeah.
It should be some change in your life. Like I said, it's a moral compass to me. I'm not trying to like do something and police are like, why you do this?
Right. Yeah. It kind of brings you down. Like
grounded.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. I don't want to let my team down or let my coach down or.
Yeah, it's crazy how we think of those things too, right?
Yeah, part of a unit. Just like in the military, as part of a unit,
Yeah.
jiu-jitsu is very paramilitary to me, and the camaraderie, the people you meet, the friends. Honestly, um, my mental health is, I wouldn't say it's perfect. There was a bit of time where I was going through some issues, and like it would be like somebody call me, just like last Father's Day, I was doing pretty bad, and somebody like invited me to an open mat, and I was like close to the edge, and
Mm.
it was like this dude invited me to open mat, and I went and trained with the guy, and then I felt better. So it's like, you build this like camaraderie,
Yes.
this friend group.
Hmm.
Now you got guys bugging the shit out of you, all day,
Yeah. Yeah.
or sending you memes or
Right.
doing stuff like that. And so it's really gave me a family outside the military, and I really appreciate that aspect of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Not only, my old professor used to be like, how you show your partner you love them, choke them. It's like never in my life have I met a bunch of guys who are trying to kill each other on the mat, but they're like the bestest of friends.
Yeah. And for those 5 minutes, we're hammering each other, but after that, it's like slap bump. Like, thanks for the role. Appreciative. Like, we just make each other better.
Yeah,
Yeah. That day that I came and rolled, uh, it was the no gi class, and then we did the gi class, and then
yeah.
we rolled a little bit, and then we ended up talking a little bit too. But that was cool, like just being able to go other places. Like I love my gym, I love my coach. I'm grateful that I have the opportunity, but it's nice that my coach is like, go train wherever.
Until you see like other gyms, they're so. I mean, you're always looked at like, especially if you got some color on your belt. They're like, people are like, oh, I'm gonna test my gangster today, But it's everywhere I've been. It's like everybody's super accepting, and
Yes.
super like, it's just like you're at your own gym, but now you're just at another gym
Hmm.
training with guys who, you know,
The amount of people, I mean, if you really look back at it, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing right now, sitting down talking to you, if it wasn't for jujitsu,
no, exactly.
right? Like it's just opened up an avenue for me that one, I was never the camera guy, right? Like when I walked into the gym that I'm at right now, Strike Fitness, I walked in and I'm like, hey, I see that you guys post a lot of videos. I don't want to be in any videos. Like the I want to come in and train. It was during COVID, like right past COVID or whatever. And I was like fucking ballooned up. I got out of shape. I was like, I need to start doing something again. Like where I had wrestling at the high school, practicing every day with those kids, you know, staying on the grind. I was moving, doing stuff in the practice room. And then when COVID hit, that all got taken away. So it was easy to, well, you're sitting at home eating, but I wasn't exercising. I
I
wasn't
ate so
doing
much
shit.
Hostess cupcakes. I was like tired of like, we'd go to the commissary and just go on like a lot of commissary food, just like junk food there, and so
Yeah,
we'd just like load up. I remember like $500 and like just like
Jesus.
snacks and just like crap,
Yeah,
And like when COVID first hit, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna do burpees every day and freaking work out every day, and then it's just like really tore on my mental health, and then, but luckily at my gym, we underground trained every day. There was
hmm,
like a group of us that at one point it was like me, competition brown belt, who's now black belt, and our professor, and I was like,
hmm,
dude, getting freaking hammered by these guys.
yeah.
And then other people started coming back, and they're like, "Fuck, you're getting hella good." And I was like, "Dude, I spent fucking like 6 months like getting that
It's
my
just
ass
training.
handed to
Yeah,
me, like, and then just grinding. Yeah, I love jujitsu. It's like it's my saving grace, really.
yeah,
Yeah, it's really changed my life for the better. And my mission coming up here, especially once I pick up brown belt, I want to really focus more on teaching and showing other people, the
yeah,
gift of jujitsu, and starting with intro classes for vets. And we might be doing something here. I'm going to try to line up a chiropractor and some other people and kind of, they call it like a veteran stand down, but I want to do like an intro class and then afterwards offer an open mat for other veterans to come in and train and just meet other vets. Cause I've had opponents that I found out were veterans after, and like now we're like super good friends and we talk every day. And
that's cool.
Yeah, so it's I.
Let me know
when
you do that.
Yeah, I think it'll be dope.
I'll promote it.
Yeah, definitely
shoot it out there.
Yeah, because if we get people on film and do all that, and I want to really capture. I kind of want to do like a check-in, like see how everybody's doing in the beginning, and then roll, and then see how everybody's doing after. Because
that'd be dope.
I think that data to show vets, the change. Because I always feel great. Like bad day, good day, I'm training, and it's like, I never not smile when I'm on the mat, even if my world's falling apart behind the scenes. It's like when I'm here, there's always something funny, or somebody does something or says something. And it's like,
or you trying to do your fucking 50 ways to defend the back.
I got one called the Diddy Mount. It's with no hooks.
No hooks?
Just with something in the crevice.
And a lot of baby oil.
A lot of baby oil.
Fucking guys. Man, that shit's crazy.
I've never liked them guys. Like even like back in the day, there was the big West Coast, East Coast. Yeah. So like these dudes are all wearing like plastic suits and doing their raps. So I was like, I've never liked Puff Daddy. And so now it's like when this comes out, even more to make fun of him.
Yeah. That shit's crazy. Crazy.
Yeah, so hopefully around Veterans Day. I think Veterans Day, I don't know if it's Monday or Sunday. So we might do it that day. But I'm going to try to line up a chiropractor, maybe a masseuse, and just make it a veteran come train, learn about Jiu Jitsu. And then for like the guys who already know, maybe even have them show up and kind of mentor a younger guy. Because I know like Cryos, even here, we'll do like a, senior belt will pair up with a junior belt, when doing a technique. So it's just hard when they're always like, find somebody your size. I'm like, thanks for singling me out because no one's my size.
Yeah. Well, what's his name's pretty fucking big.
We got Javi, he's big. We got Heart Attack, Mike, he's about 240.
No, but the guy that competed at the Gilroy BJJ.
Yeah, it's Javi. He's about 290.
What about the dude with the bushy hair?
Brent. Yeah, he's a good guy too. He just went back to school.
Oh shit.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite. He's one of my favorite. Because I feel like too, being a bigger guy, on my whole jiu-jitsu career, whatever you call it, I've always had short, smaller coaches. So you're like trying to teach a little man's game to a bigger guy, and there's certain things that I've learned through the years on how to tweak a technique to work better.
Yeah.
And so it's like I always try whenever, because he's about the same height. He's a little bit lighter than me, but he's a big guy, Brent. And so I try to help him with his game. Yeah.
He, that day that I came, he fucking caught me in a triangle.
Yeah.
He fucking slapped it on.
No, there was one time where I was like, I showed him, I said, like, do this instead of this, and he did what I said, and he got my back, and I was like, dude, I let him run too many bases, and he had that choke on me. He got me. He's athletic, but he's back in school. He's one of the ones here that I think has a lot of potential. To go far in competition. And then another one of my teammates, Javi, just picked up. He won the Gilroy white belt.
Nice.
Or was it? No, it was white belt. He won the blue, and he got promoted there to blue belt.
Hell yeah.
And he has a wrestling background. He's another guy too. He came with me to the UFC and got to get VIP and be back chilling with all the fighters and
cool.
Met some of the UFC people and stuff like that. So anything I can do to inspire my teammates or even point them in the right direction, because I feel like a lot of guys don't know how to find sponsors or present themselves as a package, because you're really selling yourself to when you're getting sponsorships or even to some of these tournaments. You got to be on them to be like, hey, give me a match. Some of these super fights.
Yes.
So at one point when I did MMA, I would email people like as a third person, Like I'm like like I was managing myself, but I
Yeah,
I would make like a couple grand in sponsors by doing that, and so
nice.
um, showing these guys how to market yourself and get some of these bigger super fights and get
Yeah,
sponsorships, and that's helped me pay. Even though right now I'm a little bit in the hole for because I did back to back to back, like you're
right.
saying,
Yeah,
World Masters, went back to San Diego and then went to Vegas
right.
again. It's like sponsors only help so much, but it does help.
Oh
So
yeah.
it's if anything I can do to inspire these younger guys to compete
Hmm.
and see that if I could do it, anybody can do it.
Yeah.
I'm an old man. It's like
That you know what? It's crazy that you say it like that because I still coach little kid wrestling, right? I retired from the high school, but at our gym we have kids wrestling and we have adult wrestling too. But I have another coach that does more young athletic. Let him do that. I don't need to do that anymore, right? I just coach the little kids. Um, but like the other day, I'm like, hey, you need to do burpees. Don't make this old man show you how to do it. And they're like, I got kids that I think the oldest is maybe 11, right? And they're looking at me like, ha ha ha, you're fat, you're old, you can't do it. And then I do it.
yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, don't let this old man fool you. Like, I can still do it. And I'll do it. And I'll show you. And I did. And they're like, oh, okay, coach.
Any gym I've been to, I'm one of the hardest workers there. And I
Nice.
don't believe I have talent. I just put in the work, and
Yeah.
it builds the talent from there. But it's like if the gym's open, I'm in it. So I'm training, 5, 6 days a week, and
Yeah.
and plus weightlifting, plus cardio, plus the stuff I do on top of it. I'm putting in like at least 4 to 6 hours a day training,
Nice.
and it's. And then even at 2, I'll hit a comp. Next day, I'm back to training. When other guys will be like,
Take a week off.
take a week off. I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, you're letting your opponent get better than you.
I don't know.
You know?
The only time I've ever taken time off is if I was hurt.
Yeah. This last just from I went into World Masters injured. I did the San Diego match injured, and I did this last match injured, and I could barely put any weight on my arm. And
Hmm.
so I did this maybe like 3, 4 days I took to kind of went to Cairo, got my back adjusted.
Hmm.
Shout out to First Chiropractic. That's one of my sponsors. He's been
Nice.
seeing me. If it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't still be competing as much as I do. It's just I go twice a week to get adjusted and go from there. And then Heavy Hitters is a sponsor of mine. They're a cannabis brand, and Weed for Warriors, they sponsor me too, but helps me with the cannabis.
Nice. Good.
Yeah. And then CMOS. If you're not on CMOS and Chill Legit, I would definitely try it. It's like
I've heard of that.
CMOS is 92 has 92 of your essential minerals that you
Hmm.
need.
Hmm.
And so, way back when I saw this guy who this family raced horses and he was
Hmm.
going schizo and having these mental health issues, and he was seeing well, they feed these horses all these minerals and it helps them. So he started taking all his minerals and his mental health got better. Everything got
Oh
better.
wow.
So CMOS has 92, and then at veganism they add in um, another herb that gives it 102 of it gives you all your minerals.
Uh-huh.
So just I tell people when you first do it, it's probably like equivalent to like taking a bump. It's like you just feel like
Oh
good. So
really?
imagine you're a high like a Lamborghini and you've been putting freaking regular gas in, and now you're putting some high octane,
Right. Like you
fuel.
put 91 in.
Yeah, it just makes you feel great. And then the Shilajit, it's been known to boost your testosterone. It's about I think it's 49 minerals, but they way back when they saw the monkeys eating it in the Himalayan mountains or
Hmm.
whatever, and they freaking go ate it. So they started taking it,
Oh wow.
producing it, and it helps build your natural. They call it Indian Viagra. So get you stay hard. I'm
Yeah.
trying to get a sponsorship from Blue Chew too.
Yeah. There you go.
Take it before 45 minutes before my match. Set the kickstand so I can't get swept.
Oh shit. Let's go, Blue. Blue Chew? It's right here. Shit.
I always joke about that. Take a Blue Chew before you compete.
That would be
I went on.
hilarious.
So one time I was on one of the guy's back, and I go, "That's not my cup."
All of a sudden, he's doing the wiggle.
Yeah,
He's doing the clinching.
Actually, oil checked that guy on accident.
Mm-hmm.
My coach asked me if I washed my hand, and I go, "No, the smell of victory."
Nice. Oh shit. All right. Anything?
Oh, thanks for having me on, man. It was a great time, fun time talking.
Fuck yeah.
I feel like we've known each other for forever, and that's thanks to jiu-jitsu.
Yeah,
That's,
for sure.
definitely glad to put out like the veteran suicide stuff, and yeah, look forward to seeing you out here possibly in November if we get it going here, having the Veterans Day event.
Yeah, just let me know. I'll promote it. I'll throw it in the podcast page.
Yep, thanks.
Get it out there. Hell yeah. Cool. Let me turn all this off and then I have a gift for you.
Oh, thank you. Dildo.
Oh no.